Hey guys, it's Stellz. Just wanted to make a quick video here, kind of just to the point with my take on Musa right now, and what I think would be good on the class, what would be useful to get out of the rework that's coming up in the future here. A lot of people ask me when I stream or in DM, like, what have they done to Musa? What are they going to do to Musa? People ask that in like the class discords as well, and there's really like no one has any idea. So you guys are going to know exactly when I know, which is whenever the patch notes drop in Global Labs, whenever it comes around that they decide to change Musa and rework it. But anyways, I just drew up some things here real quick, typed some things up about my thoughts on the class. They've kind of been the same for the past couple years. I haven't really changed much. It's been facing the same problems for a long time. And yeah, let's just get into it. So, current problems with Musa. These are the main problems that I think the class faces. Slow debuff stacking completely shuts down the class. Whenever you get slowed, attack speed, movement speed slowed, which also compound onto one another for some of your skills. Makes the class basically unplayable. You can't do anything. It's really hard to run away. Can't actively engage. Can't actively fight. Really hard to play the class. And kind of plays into the third note here. Has no real way to avoid these debuffs because of the lack of an easily usable iframe. Kind of just speaks for itself. There's nothing you can really do to avoid a lot of debuffs you catch and stuff, like in 1vx, Node War, Siege. Mainly because all of your abilities are super armor. You do have 2 iframes, and people are like, well, you know, you could back chase every 4 seconds, but that's not reliable when all your movement requires you to hold R&B and constantly be repositioning yourself. Otherwise, you're just walking, right? Or we're using something like Fire Angel, which also isn't safe and you catch debuffs in it. Like, your movement requires you to use chase, and it's something that's only up every 4 seconds, so like timing things with that is very it's just not viable. The same with like our iframe roll on our arrow here. Kind of a clunky input. It requires you to use like 2 inputs, right? So like you can get pretty good at it for timing certain things coming at you, such as like range projectiles, like a Dream of Doom from a Sork maybe. Like if it's something you see coming at you, like you can dodge things like that. But for basically all the other uses, it's not really that great of an iframe at all. So yeah, we have no way of stopping ourselves from being slow stacked. We have no real tier 3 add-ons. I think this is a bit of a problem. I think it's kind of a simple fix. You just allow us to just give us better add-on choices. If you look at our tier 3 add-on choices, they're really bad. I think at this point in the game too, like if you wanted to give us a good one like Crust Crusher, just reduce the cooldown on Crust Crusher from like 20 seconds just to, I don't know what the minimum required is for the minimum requirement for a tier 3 add-on. I believe it's 12 seconds. So it's at 17 seconds. Just get rid of 5 seconds on, put it down to 12. I don't think anyone will complain. Look at our skill add-ons here if you want to look at tier 3 add-ons. Crust Crusher is one of them, which allows us to get like a 30 AP monster add-on, 10% attack speed, 30% crit, those kind of things. Our only other options outside of that are our Retaliation, which is actually our counter block mechanic from our Q block. It really makes no sense that this is a tier 3 add-on. Makes no sense at all. But yeah, that's a tier 3 add-on. It's also a 20-second cooldown. And then our other option is Nemesis Slash, which just isn't a good skill. I don't even have it spec, so I can't show it. That's how bad of a skill it is. It's not really useful for anything outside of like healing in like 2017. I think there's some people that maybe slap it on just because they're desperate to try to get tier 3 add-ons, but once again, the skill cooldown is like I believe it's 20 seconds as well. Is am I not finding it? Yeah, 20 seconds, Nemesis Slash. So the problem with not having viable tier 3 add-ons is we can't upkeep them. So your add-ons last like 10 seconds, right? So all your options are 20-second skills. 2 of the skills are, you know, unsafe. And the third one is like a forward guard. So for PvE, it doesn't really matter, but for any other aspect of the game, there's no way to like upkeep it. No way to upkeep it in PvE as well. So a lot of the PvE, you're just using like tier 2 add-ons. And I think some people probably run like Crust Crusher because it's easy to do. And it does hurt the PvE because you can't keep up 10% attack speed most of the time and 30% or 30 monster damage, which a lot of other classes can. Just having like an actual tier 3 add-on would be tremendous for the class. Be a lot of help if you have it on something that's like 12 seconds, such as like Suck Hash's Descent, which is one of its strongest skills, and it's also a tier 3 add-on and on a low cooldown. Great skill. Musa doesn't have one of those. Useless e-buff. Useless class e-buff. I think most people can agree with this. This is probably one of the worst e-buffs in the game. For a while, it was a bug with her crosscut, where it would just remove the crosscut super armor when you used it. They fixed that recently, but it just doesn't do anything for you. It gives you like a 30 AP buff for 30 seconds. Resistance is, it's just resistance, doesn't really do anything for you. If you're playing safe, you're going to be safe anyways. Yeah. I mean, most classes nowadays have like, they have their own AP steroid. Like Hash, for example. I'm going to keep bringing up Hash because it's just a good counterexample. It has 3 skills that give it 20 attack, 20 AP buff, which lasts for 10 seconds apiece. It has 3 skills that do that does that. We have 0. That would just be another another thing I had mentioned down here, like another steroid for the class would help PvE quite a lot. What is good about Musa? Pretty easy class to play. When it was good, it was very easy to pick up and just get into for most aspects of the game outside of 1v1. I think that's the only difficult thing about Musa, because the 1v1 matchup requires you to be very keen on what you're doing. Because you have very limited CCs and engages, which are usually very easy to pick up on. It's not too hard to know what a Musa is going to do to you. And you have to understand every other class in the game to a pretty high degree to know what their openings are and how to punish them while being safe. But everything outside of that, it's very easy to play because basically all your skills are super armor that you want to use in actual scenarios. I guess I could write that down. I didn't mention that. Nearly all of your viable 1vx skills are super armors. We look at the kit, everything you're probably going to use in PvP. You're going to take a Bond. You have a couple good choices. You have like Projection, you have Fire Crevice, or you could try to fix the forward guard, the Crust Crusher one, or you could take a CC on below the belt to make it a protected super armor CC. You look at everything else. Their counter assassination is a forward guard. Dash Slash's super armor does have a gap. Most people use the BSR anyways though. Fiery Crevice can be a super armor if you put the Bond on it. Crosscut, super armor. Backflow, super armor. Eradicate, super armor. Projection can be super armor if you take the Bond. Below the belt, super armor. Foul play is going to be forward guard. Crust Crusher, forward guard. One step back, super armor. Fire Angel doesn't matter, but you get the point. A lot of just like your damage trading. It's just all safe. So it's very easy to play. Extremely easy movement, probably the easiest movement in the game. It's just hold R and B, right? Hold R and B. You'll be super armor besides every 4th second, where you will be in an iframe with your chase. So it just makes it an easy class to play and pick up for a lot of people. Which means like significant buffs could really make the class like a flavor of the month, like a really OP class. Because the core skills on the class, it's really easy to play. It's a really basic class in 1vx. Many skills can be cancelled, makes comboing freestyling a lot of fun. These are just my own opinions, by the way, but a lot of your skills have lots of different cancels to them and stuff you can do. Like all your inputs, you can cancel so many things. makes moving on the class just a lot of fun. Really, really fluid class. Everything you do in press feels like really amazing. Nothing really feels clunky on the class. Just feels really great to play. That's what I think is good about Musa. What do I think Musa needs? Main thing here, I think, is it probably needs an easy to use and reliable iframe, or a change to its movement in some regard. So, in a change to movement, I mean like such as the chase. Maybe they do something Fiery Angel. Maybe we get some kind of debuff removal or resistance skill or state that we get put into. So, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I believe Corsair has a skill where it is unable to be debuffed or slowed during the skill. Now, I do think being completely immune to slows during chase sounds kind of OP. So I don't know if they would even consider doing something like that, or even something like a debuff removal. So you guys have played other games such as like League of Legends, or if you know what like a cleanse is, there's a lot of games that have something similar to it. So you'd use some kind of action and it removes debuffs on you. So let's say like I get slowed by something, right? Like Blizzard or Lightning. Let's say I chase out and then I input something that's like really quick, like Musa's Spirit or like the Raban. And then a skill like that that's really fast gets rid of the debuffs on me. And then I can go back to doing something. And then maybe at the same time, it makes me resistant to acquiring another debuff on me. So a lot of debuffs, a lot of skills, like they CC or like debuff on every single hit, right? Such as Blizzard, every time you get hit by it, you get ticked. So it'd be kind of useless if I'm like in something, I use it, I get debuffs off me, and then I just get debuffed again, right? So I think being like slightly resistant for maybe like 2 to 3 seconds, so that you can go reposition somewhere and get out of range of whatever's CCing you or debuffing you. That'd be something pretty cool, possibly. Would be very, very useful on the class. Possibly move some of our free buffs into a fewer amount of skills. Oh, I guess I need to talk about the stamina or Fire Angel thing. So Fire Angel, as you know, it's like a naked movement skill. There's classes that have faster ones and better ones. It's just raw movement with the CC at the end if you choose to do so. It's not safe. I know that the BSR, it has kind of like a weird startup action, but it goes a lot further. Maybe just make the BSR a bit quicker and just make that a regular Fiery Angel. Just give it more distance. A lot of classes have similar skills that just go further and they're faster. I think making it like an iframe or something would be kind of busted. That'd be too overpowered. Doesn't really need super armor either. You don't really get punished in these kind of skills. But yeah, that's a possible change. The stamina changes. The stamina nerfs sucked back in the day, but I kind of got used to it over the years, and it doesn't bother me as much. But you do have to be mindful of like the skills you're using, and you can run out of stamina when you're trying to do certain things, because like all of our skills require like stamina. Like a lot of our pokes and CCs, like Blind Thrust takes stamina, like Dragon Bite takes stamina, like your skills just take stamina. It's very annoying. There's some classes in the game that just have no stamina issues, such as like Wizard. Like Wizards can just do anything, they'll never run out of stamina. Some stamina changes would be cool. Allow you to have more freedom in your movement and your skill selection. Be a very good change in my opinion. Possibly move some of our pre-buffs into a fewer amount of skills. Crucial seconds are spent rebuffing. So examples are DP from Rising Storm, attack speed from Spinner, crit buff from Blind Thrust, and your accuracy buff from Eradicate. So everyone buffs differently. However, it takes time to get everything up. So if you want to get all your buffs up, usually it looks something like this, right? So you get like your BT, your forward Blind Thrust for your crit, you get your DP from Rising Storm, and then you go to Awake and you do something like a Spinner cancel like that for 10% attack speed, and like cancel Eradicate. But if you do all these things at once, right, you have to be mindful of the people around you. Like mindful of your own presence, right, and everyone else is around you, so that you can actually get these debuffs off, because all of this stuff is pretty much unsafe, besides Eradicate. So you have to have openings so that you can buff up and have a lot of these buffs, which are very important for the class. Musa scales incredibly well with attack speed, So it's very nice to always have up, however you choose to get your attack speed buff up. But you do spend a decent amount of time, probably like 2 to 3 seconds pre-buffing out of range, and they don't all last too long. Your DP buff's pretty nice, and you can always like rebomb for magic DP and stuff, but it takes time to do that. It's like 4 to 5 buffs. You can maybe condense it. Spinner's a pretty useless skill. That's one of the skills I recommend. If they were to change something, I think this would be a great starting point. Get rid of this skill. It has absolutely no use other than the attack speed buff. You don't use it in PvE, you don't use it in PvP for any of the hits. Everybody that uses this skill just cancels it. That is all they do. It's just a canceled skill. Maybe just incorporate it into anything else to get rid of one pre-buff skill, and that'd be cool. Same with maybe like the crit buff you get from Blind Thrust, the 30% crit rate, or the DP from Rising Storm. Just incorporate it so it's less skills. If we just have to do like this, and then like do our Eradicate or something, right? Do Eradicate for that. Cuts down on the time by probably like half that you have to pre-buff up. Would be pretty nice, just a quality of life thing. An upkeepable, that's even a word, upkeepable. An unkeepable AP buff, plus either another slight PvE damage increase on a few skills, or another quote-unquote good skill would greatly improve PvE when coupled with a real tier 3 add-on, in my opinion. So I just talked earlier about the tier 3 add-ons. If we got actual tier 3 add-ons to where you could upkeep that extra 10 monster damage and 3% attack speed, that'd be significant, as well as like another slight buff on a couple skills across the board, maybe on like spammables, fire crevice and stuff, or just like more just raw damage on our like our longer cooldown abilities. I think you couple that with an actual upkeepable AP buff. So we talked about the Musa Z buffs, 30 AP buff, but other classes have ones they can keep up. They give them 10 to AP or 20 AP. If you have that coupled with 10 more monster damage and 3% attack speed in PvE, and maybe a couple tweaks to some more skills, I think Musa would be very good in PvE at pretty much anywhere. Very easy thing to fix. I think those would be great improvements. If anything is reworked, possibly change flow, backflow, spinner, one step back, Nemesis Slash, blooming. These are just kind of skills that I think have lost value over the years, or just underused, or just don't have a point to be used in the first place. So I mentioned backflow. I've always used this skill kind of just as just super armor filler, damage filler, or like a super armor linger, like this, just sitting in it. Other than that, the skill doesn't really do any damage at all. I mean, it's just another super armor, which I think we could go without if they just gave us something else, like a better skill. Spinner, I already said, pretty useless skill, just used for the attack speed buff. What else did I put on here? Nemesis Slash. So in Awake we have Flow Nemesis Slash. Over when you enable this, you can get some clunky inputs when you're doing certain things if you're not careful with what you're pressing. As you can see, it inputs space after using Crust Crusher, Fire Crevice, or Twister. So you can mess around and get yourself killed using Flow Nemesis Slash from Awake. And in Pre-Awake, it's I mean, it's the same skill. The Flow just allows you to use it in Awakening. And I think it adds maybe like a couple more hits or something, but it's not any good. Just gives you some HP back on hits. I think they could change that up, give us something better. What else did I mention on here? Spinner, one step back, blooming. So one step back is another skill in Awake that really never used. It's just used as PvE filler. You never use this in PvP. Back in the days, this used to be an iframe, which you could hotbar. You could use it as a C-swap transition, like this. You go from Pre-Awake to Awake. Be like an iframe, like a forward guard, I think, as well. I still don't use this skill, even after the super armor they gave to it. I only use it in PvE when I run out of skills. People play the class differently, though. Maybe there's people that actually use that, but I doubt it. What else do we have on here? Blooming. Blooming used to be a really cool skill. Used to have good use, did good damage. Used to have a 100% accuracy rate back in the day before they did the accuracy nerf, where every skill that had 100% accuracy was cut down to 50 or below. Nowadays, skill just doesn't have a purpose. Doesn't do any damage anymore, really. long cooldown doesn't justify it. It's a 15-second cooldown for a skill that's not very useful, not very good. People that do run like the absolute, like this, like the full hits, very risky to use. It's really only used in like 1v1s. It's not even used for PvE filler, I don't think, just because it's too long of a skill. You're better off just using anything else. A lot of people like myself, we just unspec out of it and take level 1 blooming because it's a lot faster and gives us a quick stun. But even then, I'd be willing to give that up for anything else. I do not think the class needs a grab. Every class should have weaknesses and things it cannot do, in my opinion. I don't think it fits the playstyle, and it really only helps first classes with blocks, and doesn't aid in anything else in the game whatsoever. I don't think the class needs a grab. People have been asking for a grab on this class for years. I know it is annoying to fight block classes, but every player you fight's different. I think a lot of people focus too hard on 1v1. If they did give us a grab, let's say they gave us a grab, right? They give us a grab and some stamina changes, we'd all still be complaining about the class because it'd still be terrible. Let's be honest. The only thing you're going to be able to do is like grab some players back that are holding their blocks in front of you and stuff, and change up your 1v1 playstyle. But the class still lacks so much if you just give it a grab and something else. I just don't think it needs it. You have a lot of people just play the class over the years and got used to like the quick like pokes and stuff and CCs you have, like stub arrow, and your quick dashes to punish gaps and stuff like that. I think that's just like the playstyle of the class. It's just what it's became over the years, right? I think it'd be weird to change it up, because if you give it a grab, then most people are just gonna like hold R&B, grab, do some kind of weak combo, right? I don't want the class to come to that. That's just me personally, though. That's my opinion. A lot of people can differ, obviously. Why do I think this? Musa hasn't really been nerfed in the past few years, if you think about it. So other classes have got buffed. The game's changed. That's what happens. You play games for a long time. Things change. The main reason for the continual decline in Musa's viability, not viableness, I guess, viability, that's what I should type here, is due to a few things. So new classes just have better kits. Simple as that, really. A lot of new classes are just better. They're just better. They have better utility. They have more damage. Better movement. They have better CCs. They have better debuffs. Quicker damage. I mean, a lot of classes just have better things than Musa. It's been the same kit since release, really. The game naturally progressing, people getting more gear. Usually when gear is like equal, like if you're equal gear to people with Musa, or you have a gear advantage, the class does really well, but that's very hard to do nowadays, as people have a lot of gear in the game, so it's just what happens. Musa not receiving any meaningful changes to keep up. Class hasn't really been nerfed, hasn't really been buffed all that significantly either. I think, actually, when I think about it, we've kind of been continually buffed over the past couple years for like PvE and stuff, but it's just been, hasn't been enough. PvP, we've received like some good quality of life updates and stuff, but nothing that like helps us become relevant or like really has a large impact on the class. Nothing like that has happened that I can think of. The biggest thing that happened is when bond projection was bugged. That's the biggest thing that has ever happened to Musa in the past like 2 years. Because the bond projection bug, for those of you that were not familiar with it, it was when you took the bond version of projection, it summoned 2 waves of the skill, which extended the vacuum duration, doubled the damage, and it's a 50% accuracy skill, so it just did a lot of damage. It did an absurd amount of damage. It was on a low cooldown, it was a super armor, it was a CC, and it was a vacuum. You could really kill anyone. Like when I say this, you could really kill anyone with projection combos when that was a thing. But it was overpowered, it was a bug, so definitely deserved the nerf. But that was the most meaningful thing I ever felt on Musa in the past couple years. was playing with bond projection. When was Musa good? I believe it peaked around 2018, 2019. A little bit after the renown changes or during them. You can just go back and look at old Musa videos, or even my own in my channel. You go back to like 2018, 2019, and just look at the videos. Look how I'm PvPing in Node Wars. You'll notice a lot of things. So obviously there's a lower amount of classes, right? Less class spread, more people playing the same things because there's less things to play, really. Not as many options. But it also, during the same time, there's not as many debuffs. So you'll see in a lot of Node Wars and stuff where I'm playing at, where I'm dropping like 100 kills on Musa in these Node Wars, I'm not getting debuffed. So I'm going in groups of like 3, 5, 8, 12 people, right? And I'm fighting them and I'm getting hurt and I'm trading them, right? But I'm not being debuffed. I'm only being like movement speed slowed by maybe like 10 to 20%. I'm not getting attack speed slowed by 30% or 20% while also being, you know, all these other debuffs, accuracy debuffs, like minus DP debuffs, like all these things. There's so many debuffs in the game now. The game's just completely different if you go back and just look at old videos. The game is way different. And also people had less gear. People had a lot less gear, so it was different. So you could survive on Musa, right? You could actually survive. Because there was just less damage in the game. People had less gear, less AP, took less damage. You survive more in trades, and debuffs were not as relevant. That's the main thing. Like this class is it's like okay if you're able to play it. Like if you could play it right now, and you couldn't be debuffed as much, it'd be an okay class. But it's just unrealistic. Musa PvE was never good outside of low-end content and Ackman. I don't think there was ever a time where people played Musa for the PvE outside of it's like farming trash spots like Gahaz, Bandits, and like Manchums and Ackman. It's kind of where the PvE's peaked. Everywhere else it's mediocre or just bad. I think that's just facts, actually. PvE's never been good on Musa. And in any like actual spot where you're making like top tier money, where you'd want to be, it's not really good in any of those spots. Never has been. I think it's all right in most LVS spots nowadays, like all right, borderline okay. But other classes, many other classes do a lot better. Another thing I think that'd be okay on Musa is like an evasion scaling. So maybe they put like an evasion scaling on Chase, like 6% evasion, 9% evasion, something like that. And maybe they rework our passives. But I think those would be smaller changes. Because a lot of those changes also depend on like, it's just so complex with this game because there's like class modifiers behind everything. So like how much damage you're taking from another class, right? Like, I don't know. I think those things would be lesser changes if we were to get something like that. Melee evasion rate, kind of a meme. They could change this up and give us evasion. They gave it like a significant amount of evasion. It'd be good just so that you would have a like a standardized build, right? So like you could run like evasion gear on your Musa and stuff. You'd have like your classic like Heave, Muskenlieber, Kudum build, stuff like that, and it would actually work. And you wouldn't feel like you're gimping yourself by playing like some people still run like weird hybrid sets, or they run like evasion with begs and stuff, which is just completely useless in my opinion. Just a bad build. At the same time, like you might lack accuracy and stuff. So just in a weird position with Musa. I think all these other changes would be a lot more significant. And everything else you need, you can go out of your way to buy it with gear and change your gear builds up to accommodate. But yeah, that's really my it's really just my thoughts on the class. I'd really like the class to be just playable. You know, I don't really want it to be like overpowered, anything too nuts. Where the point like everyone's playing it and you just see Musas everywhere, which, you know, might be fun to see one day, but I don't think like any of these changes, like I'm not asking for all these changes at once. These are just like, just my thoughts. If you were to change anything, this is things that I would change. I think the class could perform. Just some of these adjustments are made. I think it'd be an okay class. Yeah, I hope this was useful and maybe answered some of your guys' questions. Once again, this isn't what is going to happen. This is literally just my own opinions on stuff that we may never see. So, I'm not playing Musa. A lot of people ask me. I have not played the class in about half a year now. I just got tired of playing it. Simple as that. Got tired of playing it. I don't have fun playing it anymore in the aspects of the game that I enjoy, which is like PvE and Node Wars and Siege. I don't have fun playing it in those areas, so I play Suck Hash now. But I will be going back to the class. Whatever changes they make, even if I think they're insignificant, I am going to tag the class, I am going to play it, and I'll play it for a month or two, or whatever. And I'll do it in all aspects of the game. I'll do PvE, we'll do Node Wars, Siege, I'm going to do all that kind of stuff, and it'll be in videos and on my stream. So, yeah, hopefully they do something good for us, guys. Feel free to talk about this in the comments. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on what you think Musa needs, or what you'd like to see on Musa. Maybe we can talk about things, be hopeful for the future. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys later.